silver is still looked at as a poor man's gold, which I don't believe it is. I think it's a strategic metal, critical metal for everything we do. Even this room is full of silver. This TV's behind us. There's probably 5 ounces of silver in that big screen behind us here. And what happens to that? Does that get recycled? No, it doesn't, because it's cost a fortune to recycle it. So it's and people will wake up to the silver story. I'm certain of it. I've been talking about it for over 20 years now, and I'll continue to talk about silver because I think it's the most important metal that we have as the human race. I'm expecting to see $3,000 gold. I suggested 3,000 by the end of 2024. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised to see $3,000 gold in 2025. That should drag silver up with it, and hopefully it gets back up to its old highs.
Gold has significantly outpaced other commodities this year, including oil and copper, establishing itself as a standout performer in global markets. This notable rise in gold prices can be attributed mainly to increased central bank purchases, which have become a pivotal factor in recent years. Analysts have observed that central banks, especially in emerging markets, have been actively expanding their gold reserves, a trend that shows no signs of slowing down. In the first half of this year, central bank acquisitions reached their highest levels since 2000, underscoring a strong and sustained demand for gold. This trend of accumulating gold reserves is expected to continue, further supporting the potential for additional price increases shortly. In contrast, silver has not experienced a similar price surge despite its substantial industrial demand and ongoing supply constraints. Silver's critical role in modern technology, especially in photovoltaic solar panels and automotive applications, has been growing. The solar panel industry is projected to use approximately 250 million ounces of silver this year, while the automotive sector's demand stands at around 100 million ounces annually. Silver's price has not mirrored the rally seen in gold despite these significant uses. Keith Neumeyer of First Majestic highlights that the supply-demand imbalance for silver has resulted in notable deficits. Estimates suggest a shortfall of about 250 million ounces of silver this year, similar to last year's deficit. This ongoing imbalance and rising industrial consumption suggest that silver's market dynamics might eventually lead to a price increase. However, the metal's price has yet to fully reflect these supply-demand pressures, potentially due to its perception as a poor man's gold compared to gold. Looking ahead, Keith predicts that gold prices could reach $3,000. While achieving this target by the end of 2024 might seem ambitious, many analysts believe it could be feasible by 2025. If gold prices continue to rise, this could also positively influence silver prices. We will present clips from Keith Neumeyer's with Kitco Mining. But before we do, if you want more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more updates. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Gold is so buoyant is because the central banks around the world. We had, I don't know how many central banks are buying gold, but there's a lot of them, and it's record numbers. I'm seeing stats coming out, on a monthly basis, and country after country is adding to their gold portfolio or gold hoardings, and they want to have gold part of their foreign currency holdings, and you point fingers at a number of different reasons why that's occurring, but it is happening, and so that's the bid. There's this bid under the gold market by big banks that are buying the metal, and that's fantastic. It hasn't shown up really that much in silver yet, and that's one of the conundrums, I think, and maybe that's a viewpoint that we're going to go into a recession, or there might, some think there's going to be a stock market crash. Who knows? But silver prices should be a lot higher. I'm a big ratio guy, and we are mining only 7 or 8 to 1 silver versus gold, and we're trading in the mid 80s, which makes really no sense to me. And you've got the solar panel industry now consuming something like 250 million ounces of silver this year, and the miners are only producing 850 million a year. Actually, a little bit less than that. And of course, the automotive sector is consuming about 100 million ounces a year. So you've got two markets that are relatively new, at least over the last 10 years, that are consuming 30 or 40% of the world's supply of the metal. and we're in deficits. There's going to be another deficit this year. We don't know what the number is, but the guesstimate is, something in the order of 250 million ounces, which was very much like the last year's deficit. How do you run deficits like that and not have it show up in price? But I think silver is still looked at as a poor man's gold, which I don't believe it is. I think it's a strategic metal. It's a critical metal for everything we do. Even this room is full of silver. This TV's behind us. There's probably 5 ounces of silver in that big screen behind us here. And what happens to that? Does that get recycled? No, it doesn't, because it's cost a fortune to recycle it. So. And people will wake up to the silver story. I'm certain of it. I've been talking about it for over 20 years now, and I'll continue to talk about silver because I think it's the most important metal that we have as the human race. Really think interest rates have any impact on metals. People argue it all the time. Oh, we're going to get a rate cut of X amount, and gold's going to go up, or and so on. But if you do an actual long-term study on interest rates and gold prices, you see, we were having much higher interest rates years ago, and we're hitting all-time highs on gold, back in the 80s, and so inflation maybe has an impact, but the biggest thing that, as I said earlier, that's driving gold prices is the central banks. Something's going on behind the scenes that we're not really aware of, whether it's a currency reset, whether it's some kind of global currency, or whether it's a new Federal Reserve or a new reserve currency. Coming into play. What the BRICS do. Are they going to come out with a currency? Are they going to back it with gold? Because a lot of the BRIC nations are big consumers of gold right now. So, I don't have a crystal ball, but definitely, the world has changed over the last couple of years. When you have central banks being the record buyers, 2 years consecutively, that tells you something's going on. And though it doesn't appear those buyers are lightening up, they're in there every day buying more gold. So, I'm expecting to see $3,000 gold. I suggested 3,000 by the end of 2024. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised to see $3,000 gold in 2025, and that should drag silver up with it, and hopefully it gets back up to its old highs.
According to Keith Neumeyer's analysis, recent economic and technological trends have put significant pressure on the silver market. Rising demand from industries such as electronics and renewable energy has strained supply. Historically, recycled silver came from old X-ray films containing extractable silver halides. However, as medical imaging has moved to digital technology, the availability of these films for recycling has declined. This transition has also made recycling silver from consumer electronics challenging due to the small amounts of silver in devices like smartphones and TVs and the high cost of extraction. On the supply side, the silver mining industry has experienced fluctuations. Production dropped to about 780 million ounces during the COVID-19 pandemic. Still, it rebounded to 880 million ounces in 2016 and has since stabilized around 830 million ounces annually. This stable production contrasts sharply with the growing demand for new technologies and applications. Neumeyer notes that the market now faces a significant supply-demand gap, with annual deficits estimated at around 250 million ounces. This imbalance is exacerbated by the increasing use of silver in sectors like solar energy and electric vehicles, underscoring the metal's rising importance.
150 million ounces of that is recycling.
Yeah.
And so the recycling industry is a tough one to really measure because it's very price dependent. Also, technology is changing. A lot of that silver comes from is still X-rays. Surprisingly or not, there's still a lot of old X-ray machines out there that use old film, and there's a whole industry of people that go around and collect all this film, and it gets recycled through the different refineries, throughout North America primarily, and that market is depleting. Who knows exactly what that means long term? At $100 silver, do you start recycling this television, or do you start recycling your iPhone? I don't know the answer to that. There's $2 or $3 worth of silver in your standard cell phone. It's embedded into that circuit board, very well, and extremely difficult to get out. the copper. There's a small amount of gold in there and some zinc as well. And getting the metal out of there is just very, very difficult, and it's very not very cost effective. So I'm not sure if recycling will ever increase to any great degree, unless we see multiples of where we're trading at today. On the supply side or the mining side, we've been around. We dipped down to about 780 million ounces at COVID. And we peaked at 880 million ounces in 2016. And last year we're at 830 million ounces, and this year it'll probably be around about the same. There's really no big mines coming online, and these deficits are real, and then they're not going anywhere. And as long as governments continually push solar panels and electric cars and continually get pushed around the world, and we're not going to stop producing televisions or computers or cell phones or refrigerators or freezers. I remember talking to one of our traders during COVID, and he was saying, geez, we're getting all these orders from these freezer manufacturers for silver. And I had no idea that there was, of course, there has to be silver in it because there's a whole bunch of electrical components in there, but I just had not really thought about it. And the reason why, because they had a run on freezers, because everyone was buying meat, so loading up on meat and going, and they had to put it in, obviously, in a freezer. So that we had a freezer shortage, and the amount of silver that was being consumed apparently was unusual. So look, it's a great metal to be in, and I can't speak enough about it.
Given central banks' rising accumulation of gold, many analysts are bullish on gold prices. Bank of America, BOA, has reaffirmed its forecast, predicting that gold prices will reach $3,000 per ounce by 2025. This forecast is supported by ongoing economic and geopolitical factors bolstering gold demand. As gold prices continue to climb, this upward trend is also expected to influence silver prices positively. Share your thoughts on Keith's prediction in the comment section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Until next time.